Let's talk about the Packers for a hot moment. So the Packers, I think, made Eagles fans feel a lot better, not just because they're going to be playing us again, but because we reinforced their decision not to start Saquon Barkley. Because the Packers, they put out some starters. Christian Watson seems to have suffered a pretty significant injury. Jordan Love got banged up. Thankfully, he avoided a significant injury, or that would have been a disaster.
Yeah.
And it really was just like the worst case scenario for the Packers. Matt LaFleur came out. Matt LaFleur had a horrible game yesterday. Because in terms of like the Packers, dude, they called a timeout. They called a timeout before they sent out McManus, which allowed the Bears to keep their timeout, which they wound up using to get into field goal range. And two, McManus wound up hitting it, which thank God. But the play calling, they decide to do a jet sweep with freaking Jaden Reed again on like 4th and 3. And it's very frustrating. And now Watson is hurt. And the only reason Watson was playing, who was coming back from an injury, was because Romeo Doubs wound up getting sick a couple days ago. And they're like, we need another wide receiver. So they threw Watson out there. So now he has a non-contact injury on the opposite knee. And it is just a disaster all the way around.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. There's lots of pessimism that's heading in for Packers right now, Packers fans. The thing is the Packers, they improved on their record from last year. They won 2 more games because they headed into the playoffs 9-8. They're still the 7 seed, right? The problem where they definitely regressed was against the division. A 1-5 record against the division is rough. And they could have gotten swept if it wasn't for Carl Brooks's fingers literally stopping the field goal against the Bears earlier. And again, the Packers, I still think, are a good team. I still think they have yet to prove that they are a great team. It's kind of like what you were saying about the Broncos. Yeah. They can hang with those really good teams. They can hang with the Vikings. They can hang with the Lions. They can hang with the Eagles. It's just a matter of putting it over the top. And obviously, they have some holes. They need they need to get additional pass rushers. They need some more corners. And they probably need another wide receiver day 2 or 3 if they go in the free agency. I'm sitting here, dude, and going, you never know. Jalen Hurts is banged up. We'll see him on Sunday. You never know. So I'm kind of looking at this saying we'll kind of get a good feel of how the Packers are going to look against Philadelphia. McKinney came out and said, basically, it's the same exact thing every single week. They just got to perform. It's individual guys. That defense looked horrible on that final play. I don't know what the hell they were doing. All their D-backs were way, way back. It made no sense. So I think it just comes down to execution. Play calling was a definite problem yesterday. And it's like these little mistakes that just compound. And when you're going up against teams, especially in the playoffs, the margin for error is that thin. So,
yeah, I watched like the same thing happen to 2 teams. It was the Ravens and the Packers. And we'll see how it shakes out for the Ravens because Zay Flowers went down with a knee injury in that game. And now they're saying day to day with it, but that's a guy you don't want to lose in a game where, sure, you're playing for what, the 3 seed. Like, who cares? Packers play, like, obviously, I think the Packers actually had a little more to play for in terms of matchup in the first round there. But you have these starters out.
Yeah, it didn't even want to matter. The Commanders won, so they would, even if they won, they wouldn't have gotten the 6th seed.
And the Ravens, Rashad Bateman takes a shot in that game, goes to the sideline. You're like, oh shit, I hope he's okay. It was like 2 plays later, Zay Flowers goes down. You're like, oh God, what does John Harbaugh do? He's running with Derrick Henry deep into the 4th quarter. I'm like, okay, like it's fine, and it's going to work out to be okay ultimately. But if I'm in that situation and I see Zay Flowers go down, I'm like, okay, Lamar, you're coming out. Henry, you're coming out. We're gonna save something for the playoffs because I don't want to risk losing anybody. It's a tough decision, I think, for coaches to make. Guys want to play, obviously. You don't want to put certain guys at jeopardy with not having your starters out there. Looks like the Ravens will be all right. And I saw a post-game like speech with Derrick Henry in the locker room. And I think the Ravens are going to benefit from having a guy like Henry in there, not because of, he's insanely talented, but he's never been. It's been a while since he's been on a team this good. He knows how rare these opportunities are. And I think having a guy to remind players who are on a good team who have been getting to the playoffs to be like, this is when we've got to double down on shit and we've got to be better. You got to go out and do it, but like they've got a guy who I think is going to deliver in the playoffs in Derrick Henry. So it was kind of cool to see. But yeah, it was the Watson injury for the Packers was the one I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
That's going to be tough.
Because the offense is better when he's on the field. Again, there's been so much crap said about Christian Watson, and I'm honestly just so over it. And like he's on a rookie contract, like literally is costing the team $0 and is obviously making the team better. Is anybody happy that he's getting injured? No. But it's the different injuries every time. It's a freak injury where somebody lands on him a couple weeks ago. This one's a non-contact injury. Like it ain't the hamstring anymore. So what are we talking about? So we'll see what that contract eventually looks like, but we don't have to worry about that right this second. But yeah, man, like it sucks because he shouldn't have been playing, but at the same time, he kind of had no choice because they had to put somebody out there because Romeo Dobbs got sick. And it's just, unfortunately, it's one of those things where it comes back and it bites them. And the Packers, it's just going to be tough to beat the Eagles. That's it.
Yeah, dude, it's an interesting matchup.
They are going to need another wide receiver, whether it's going to be in the draft or free agency. The good news is, like I said, the Packers have $62 million in cap space. They have 3 positions that they need to address, and they can do that in the draft and in free agency.
So. Do they think Watson might have tore his ACL?
Go back up. I have not seen anything to confirm. Let's see.
But Dan, the Seahawks.
It's non-contact. Yeah, it's non-contact. And on top of that, LaFleur said he didn't feel confident about it. He had to get carted off. So it does not look good.
Yeah, no, I know it. Yeah, I didn't know. They thought maybe, I thought it was like, I didn't think it was an ACL. I didn't know.